My mugshot going viral. I'm on every channel.
The hot felon, the sexy convict, the blue-eyed bandit.
And I didn't know what I was getting into. Getting 300 letters a day. Random people coming up to visit. I'm still getting movie opportunities. While I was in the feds, I signed a deal with... Then the hate came from the correctional officers. My father caught a life sentence for murder when I was 9 months old. Murdered my mom's best friend. He was coming back to get me and my brother. And we had moved when he got out of jail.
He was coming back to...
Just to come take us.
Oh, okay.
And when he got out of jail, he went back to the place where he knew we lived and we had moved. He didn't know where we were. And so he went to my mom's best friend knowing that she would know. And...
She wouldn't say?
Yeah, she wouldn't say.
Okay.
She wouldn't say, and he murdered her. Not knowing that we had rented the apartment right above. And so growing up my entire life without my father in my life was, it was what it was. But I had my older brother and my mom and my sisters. I realized young that the DNA is strong. Because with my father not being in my life, at a very young age, I was just terrorizing everything.
Right.
And so, like, cops were coming to the house when I'm like 8 years old.
What are you doing?
Numerous things.
Is this like burglaries or just?
No, I mean, it's breaking in stuff. It's breaking windows. It's, one time, I don't know, I must have been 7. I end up putting like all these snakes, these water moccasins in this guy's car. He had sprayed me with some water. And this is probably in like 91, early 90s. He had sprayed me with water and I came back later on and put a bunch of snakes in his car. And I don't know how, but the police came straight to the house.
Right.
And they sat there and watched me take all these snakes out of his car. Like they didn't bring animal control or nothing. Like, police made me take all the snakes out. I think I was harboring a lot of pain growing up very young and just wanted to let it all out. And I didn't know how else to channel it. And I think it just equated into fights and just getting in a lot of trouble.
Were your brothers getting into trouble or it was just you?
No, my brother was getting in a little bit of trouble. I think he just cut from a different cloth. Me and my brother are very similar. I don't know. I think I just let it out differently. I just channeled it differently. He channeled it into sports. He was always good at sports, and mine channeled into, I don't know.
Chaos?
Yeah, chaos, violence. We moved from Washington State in 8th grade to California. I didn't know anything about gangs. I didn't know anything about the culture.
Right.
Of just Crips and Bloods and Northerners and Southerners. And ended up getting to a lot of issues because I just didn't understand. I just didn't come from that. But I learned very fast. And ended up having a lot of issues with some Bloods and some Northerners. And the neighborhood I lived in was Crips, South Side gangster Crips. Naturally, those are the people that I hung out with.
Right.
And got locked up and met one of the homies that was from there. And I always think about that moment sitting in my juvenile cell. I'm 15. I get a kite under the door. It's, it's pretty much breaking down the options and, I should holler at the homies when I get out. And so I get out and I immediately go meet the homies, and I already knew a bunch of them from school. But then I met our older homie, J-Rock. And I feel like that's one of the moments that changed my life forever. Because I never had a father or really any male father figure in my life. And J-Rock had just got out of prison from doing 8 years.
It's funny because I've talked to guys, a lot of those locked up with that, we'll end here on the show where I always like why? Like, what is the allure to joining, a gang? And I had a guy, this was in prison, and he said exactly that. He said, you're in a neighborhood where you're being persecuted by, typically, he said, the other gang, because they know the neighborhood. He said, you're typically have your mom or your grandmother's raising you. You don't have a father. He said, and believe it or not, he said, the gang becomes your family. And he said, even though at the time you don't know it, the reason you're misbehaving and you have no real restraints on you is because you don't have a father or a real kind of a family unit. And he said, and the gang actually gives you that. And so it's security. You have someone to look up to. You have people to look out for you. He said, you don't have that in your home. Like, he explained it to me in a way where prior to that, when I talked to this guy, prior to that, I'd always just thought, like, why would you do that? Like, well, that's just stupid. But then he explained it, and I was like, oh, well, now it makes sense.
So real, like, from being in my neighborhood, I have so many moms now. I have so many aunties. I have so many grandmas. I have so many people that took care of me, and made sure I had a roof over my head and clothes and food. When you come from a broken home, you definitely search for family, And
the thing is, you probably don't even know you're searching for it. You know what I'm saying? There's just something missing.
Yeah, it is very subconscious for sure. I would admit that. But then again, I think you're also looking for like-minded people. I think you're also searching for, for me, let me just speak for myself. I needed an outlet for all this pain that I was in. And this pain that I was in, I wanted other people to feel it. And there was no better outlet for me than to be in the streets gangbanging and fighting and doing everything that comes with that.
What is your role? Does this guy say, hey, here's how we make money?
No. So the reason why I would even say that this meeting was so life-changing is because he was very honest. J Rock was just, instead of just, you want to be from the hood, let's put him on. No, he really took me to the side and talked to me and was like asking why, because it was a life-changing moment, and it was a decision that if I made this could alter the rest of my life, and it did. And so we talked, and he told me, man, think about it. Like, I'll see you in the next day or two. Just leaving me with that, me going home and really thinking about that it was a big decision. Because I know me, and like, when I jump headfirst into something,
You're all in.
Yeah, it's all or nothing, and so things just snowballed,
Well, I mean, so what are you doing? Are you selling drugs? I
really didn't care about the money aspect at a young age. I was more about the violence, and, I just wanted bullets and guns, and, and then I could just do my thing. You have certain homies that do dirt, and you have certain homies that's known for getting money, and you have certain homies that's known for messing with broads, and you have some homies that's dancing. It wasn't until I got older until I'm like, oh, I need to start getting some money, but I was just in and out. I was just in and out of juvenile hall, and I also knew that I was young. 16, I can do a whole bunch of stuff and not get charged, and not really, I'm just a juvenile. Yeah, I got shot 5 times.
Fuck, for what?
With the 40 caliber. What? Just on some gang stuff. It happens.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing with being a mortgage broker. I know what you're saying. Yeah, mortgage brokers, we're always shooting each other.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Were you at a drug deal that went bad? Somebody tried to rob you?
No, I got Jack in the Box eating a fucking double cheeseburger.
And just somebody just came up and had a beef with the gang. And
I was like 17. We had been all over the Bay Area, and we go to the Jack in the Box. It's probably 12 o'clock at night. We get our food. We're eating in the outside area. Me and a bunch of friends. And I'm eating, and all I hear is, what are you looking at? And so I look up, and it's my homie Jake. and I see like this old school Suburban, and the Suburban like backs up, and you just see this little Hispanic face in the back seat. And he's like, "What'd you say?" And he's like, "What's up? You got a problem, my homie Jake? Like, you got a problem? Get the fuck out the car. Like, what are you looking at all crazy?" And this little Mexican just starts smiling. And he jumps out. All you see is his little face. He jumps out the back seat, and he's not even 5 foot, with this big ass 40 cal. And he's like, "What'd you say?" He's like, "Homie, where you from?" And he throws up XIV. And he busts off 3 shots into the ground, and like everyone in the parking lot scatters. And I'm just standing there, and he looks at me. Mind you, I'm wearing Dickies, Chucks, Pendleton. At first, he pointed it straight at my face, which he could have just smoked me. But then he pointed down at my feet, and I think he was trying to scare me. But he just started popping shots. And the first shot hit the ground, ricocheted, and hit my leg, which made me jump up. And then he just kept shooting, and every shot jumped up a little bit higher. And so it hit me in my foot, and it hit me in my leg, and it hit me above my knee, and it hit me in my hip, and he just started tagging me.
You weren't even the person who had said anything.
No, but who cares? We're all kids. Just everyone's fucking shooting each other. Once he started hitting me, once it was like, I jump over, I run through like the little eating area and jump over this little like maybe 2 foot, 3 foot wall that's separating the chairs from the drive-through. I jump over that, run into the front yard, and I'm still hearing shooting. He's just busting, boop, boop, bop, boop, 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 boop. Mind you, the guns that we had were in the car. It's on the other side of where he was at. And so we can't even get to him. And so I don't know if all my people are shot or what, but once the shooting stops, then I come back around. And as soon as I come back around, I had gold ones, tops and bottom, my gold teeth. And they were like laying in the drive-through. They had fell out of my pocket. And they ran them over. Like my folks, Jay got hit in the face with a ricochet. It bounced off the ground and hit him in his lip. And like a big slug was melted outside of his lip. And when he pulled it out, you could see his tooth. Luckily, it didn't knock his tooth out. But
So there's a hole
yeah, there was.
in his lip.
Yeah, it healed now. I get hit. And then 3 days later is our hood day for my neighborhood. And so we're playing basketball and we're barbecuing and like.
Haven't you been shot? Aren't you in the aren't you in the hospital?
No, I'm on the run. And so I never went to the hospital because anytime you're shot or stabbed, they have to call the police. And so
It seems like this would be an opportune time to go ahead and be okay with that. Like, I mean, it didn't hit any organs. I mean,
no, it was all hips and legs. And so my homie's mom, my homie Rip, his mom was an RN, registered nurse. And so she took care of me and cleaned me up and gave me antibiotics and painkillers and muscle relaxers. And she made sure I was good. Maybe 10 days later, I get caught by the Brown Street Northerners, who we had been at war with. And they caught me walking. And fuck, they fucking destroyed me with baseball bats. Damn, they beat the shit out of me. To the point where, and kudos, I took my hat, y'all got me. It was rough though, because they just like beat in my back. Because at first I'm fighting and I'm, doing what I can. But once you start hearing them pinks and you feel it and you're like, ain't shit I could do about this. And so you kind of just got to take it for what it is. And so once I like curled up and feetled up because I'm catching 2 bats from different angles, they beat my back until I pissed blood for probably 10 days because my kidneys were so fucked up. And I'm talking like pissing out thick, clotted blood that fucking burns because it's so thick and it's like popping all over the back of the toilet. that shit was rough. And that's probably the one that I should have went to the hospital for, to be honest. And I didn't. It put me down for probably a week. And then I was in juvenile hall maybe a week after that. On my 18th birthday, they came and got me at 12 o'clock.
Who?
County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For what?
Because I'm now going to county jail. I'm an adult.
Oh, okay.
And so like I just did a lot of time in juvenile hall. Tons of stuff, you know.
Florida, it's up to like 22 or something. Like you stay in juvie up to, I think, 21 or 22.
Well, yeah, the laws have changed now. In California, it's 25.
Oh.
And so if you hold a juvenile case, they can keep you up to 25. But this is in the early 2000s. And so they came and got me, and I'm in San Quentin. Well, really, I was in county jail for maybe 3 weeks.
How much time did you have?
They gave me 3.5. So altogether, I've done like almost 11 years, but it was all broken up.
Well, what were you doing time for at that time?
It was robberies that was dropped down to like grand thefts of persons.
Okay. Okay.
And so, yeah, there was really, I think what actually sent me to prison was my gang affiliation, to be honest. I'm in county jail and we are going to war with numerous Hispanic gangs. And I meet this white dude who is in the tier. He was fighting a life sentence. He had tattoos all over his face. He was a Nazi lowrider. He was having some issues with some guys and ran down on someone with this big knife and needed somewhere to store it, and he slid it under my door, panicked. I held it, and he came and brought me some weed, and we built like this little rapport. It was like a weird friendship, like a little black crip with this Nazi lowrider with swastikas. And anyways, they gave him life. And my first bus ride to San Quentin, he was on the bus. And so we go through R&R, and this is my first time going through R&R where I'm just in reception getting processed. And so after you get processed, they have like this little yard that you go on, where like the mainline yard, people that are already doing time in that prison can see you through the fence, and they all come up and talk to you. And so I see him, and like we see each other, and he like calls me over, and we meet kind of in the middle, and everyone's kind of looking to see what's about to happen. And he was just expressing that I was a good little youngster and to keep my head up and to be careful. And he knows I had never been to prison.
Right.
But obviously no one knows what the hell we're talking about. And so we shook hands, and he gave me like this little half hug because they was going to send him to C Unit. And I was going to end up going to West Block.
Is that helping you or hurting you?
It didn't do anything for me.
Okay.
They ended up stabbing him, which I felt bad for. But I honestly don't know if it was because of us meeting up in the middle and having that conversation, or the half hug, or I don't know. It might have been his jacket. It might have been his background. Who knows? I just remember walking in, holding all of my beddings and belongings. And when you walk into West Block, there's 5 tiers, and each tier has 100 cells. And so just imagine, just thinking about it has me like,
I see Shawshank Redemption, you know, the multiple tiers.
yeah.
And it was built back in what?
It was built in 1856.
Oh my God.
And so even
It's a
in
dungeon.
R&R, there's pictures of people being released from San Quentin where they're giving you a horse, a rifle, and a bag of gold. That's how old it is. Oh,
You're gonna get none of that now. They're giving you what, a bus ticket? $50.
oh. And so I remember walking in. There's like balls of fire, people lighting fire. And when I first went there, they had Broadway. And so they had bunks out on the tier, which was very illegal. The feds ended up busting them for it. That's another story.
This is for overcrowding.
Yeah. And so there's like people out on the tier, sleeping on bunks and gambling and shooting dice and doing tattoos. And this is back when they still had tobacco and everyone's smoking. There's people climbing up the tiers. Like I'd never seen nothing like it in my life. There's fishing lines everywhere. People tying lines together with weights and shooting it from the first tier up to the fourth, asking for assistance. Can I get assistance? From 347 up to, and then boom, they'll take the line and shoot it down, and then he'll shoot it up and he'll shoot it over. And it's like lines shooting everywhere and guns, like.
It's a jungle, right? So
It was like nothing I had ever experienced. And as soon as you get there, you have everyone coming up to the cell, like, where you from? And like me, 18, I think I need to like prove a point.
okay.
I think I need to like go into this super aggressive. This is my mind state, you know. In San Quentin is ran by the Kumis, 415. It's a prison gang within the California prison system. Kumi is Swahili for 10. 4 + 1 + 5 is 10. And so it's a massive, massive prison gang.
This is a black prison gang.
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't get along with Crips. And so I get to San Quentin, and every single night they do a shutdown. The inmates do. And so it's like, West Block, it is now 10:30. We ask for your cooperation and participation in shutting tonight's program down. We ask that if you do not have matters that are of the utmost importance, we ask that you sit on them to tomorrow. Front bar, pay respect to the back bar. Back bar gives respect to the front bar. To all my African brothers, Ije Ma'un Sikun. And then all the blacks, hundreds and hundreds of blacks, you just roar, Ije Ma'un Sikun. To all the Mexicans, Buenos noches. Then all the Mexicans, Buenos noches. And to all Woods and all others, good night. And then it's pitch quiet. And then no one can say anything all night. And if you do, the prison gangs are going to take care of you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I end up getting into it with the Kumis because the Bay Area slang, they say blood a lot. And I'm a Crip. And so a lot of them don't do it out of disrespect. That's how they speak.
Are they calling you a blood?
Well, they just say blood. What's up, blood? What's up, blood? I know.
They don't mean.
No, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in my mind, I'm 18 and no one's going to call me a blood.
You're looking.
I'm very immature. I'm very immature and I'm hard-headed. And
Can I ask you a quick question? Are you scared during this time when you walk in there?
of course, I think
It sounds like fucking. It's like it's a terror. You know, like it's an absolute. Like I'd be terrified walking.
1000%.
Because these guys are clearly running the establishment. Like the guards are in their
a lot of the
office.
A lot of the guards are part of Kumi too. Also, they make sure they got the knives, they got they got the drugs, they got the phones. Because it's all a Bay Area thing. It's like they have uncles and cousins, and they're all from the Bay Area.
Yeah. So you get into it,
Yeah.
because of they keep saying, "What's up, blood?"
Well, it was just this, it was that, it was a bunch of issues, and
Well, it doesn't seem like that doesn't seem like the gang or in general just to be the association to be getting into it with. Like
Well,
No?
also,
Can that go bad?
not when there's very few of us and hundreds of them, And so, again, like a lot of the issues that I had didn't even have to be what it was,
Right.
to be honest. I realize now that I made life. Now when I think about it, when I think life is what you make it,
Yeah.
I realize I made it a lot harder than it should have ever been. But yeah, I had a lot of issues, a lot of fights, a lot of self-fights, a lot of stabbings, a lot of
How long does this first bid last?
3 years. And so my first mainline prison was Soledad. Sorry, my insides are like, I'm thinking about all this.
You know, because you don't really talk about this.
Yeah, so my very first cell that I walked into in Soledad is fucking Danny Trejo's old cell because it has that huge fucking drawing on the wall that's still there.
He knew Charles Manson.
That was my next door neighbor. Charles Manson was my next door neighbor. That's a whole nother.
Dang, bro.
Yeah, in Old Corcoran. I did a shoot term in Old Corcoran, and he was my next door neighbor. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was tiny little guy, right?
Yeah, very racist.
Yeah. Why he was
first person I've ever seen that was getting like duffel bag, army size duffel bags of mail.
Wow.
Monday through Friday. Yeah, but did some years in prison. A lot of riots.
What are you doing in a riot? Like, I mean, if
it's not about what you're doing. So
if you're not in the riot.
Oh, for sure.
Or do you guys go to the yard knowing, hey, we have an issue with these guys?
And so sometimes it does.
Or is it just these guys, this popping off with these two groups here having an issue, and you're just standing back like with your...
So I've been in 6 mass riots between blacks and whites, blacks and Hispanics, really blacks and Southerners. Yeah, one time I was in Soledad, and I didn't know that my older sister had come to visit me. And before they could call my name over the PA system, we get into a riot with the Southerners. They locked the whole prison down for 10 hours. So in California, I don't know how it is out here, but in California, they have warnings, like no warning shots painted everywhere. And so if they see anyone with a knife, they could shoot you with a mini 14 tumbler around.
Is that lethal? It can be.
No, it's a tumbler. You can get shot in your shoulder and it comes out your knee.
Oh, okay.
It's like it tumbles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in California missing legs and missing arms from the gun tower. We get into a riot and we kind of knew it was coming within 30 minutes, not ahead of time. But my sister was in the visiting room and they locked her in for 8 hours. And every time the yard would lay down, because they're shooting the block gun, 40 millimeters.
What are you doing? Trying to stay out of the way, or?
And so I could never be one of those types. It's like, I ain't scared of shit. It's like, no.
Yeah.
That shit's scary. It's like a domino effect. It's like everyone has a knife in everyone. And mind you, after Soledad, it was the only level 3 that I've been to. And so after that, I was all level 4, which is usually where all the lifers are.
Right.
Just because of my points had kicked up.
Is it because you're locked down most of the time in those, or no? Or is there a lot of yard times?
No, you still got a lot of yard time.
Okay.
It's definitely not as much as a lower level. It's just a lot more serious. It's like, especially when you have a date and a lot of people around you don't have dates. And
so you said there was a riot and they locked it down for 10 hours. It's funny because I was in medium security prison in Coleman, and there would be whatever. I don't know if there was a full blown riot, but let's say it was a riot or a couple gangs go at each other, but it's not really, this doesn't go up for hours. This is 10 minutes, 5 minutes, still they break it apart. But of course they call recall. And it was funny because that would happen at whatever, 1 in the afternoon. And dinner, then it comes dinner time. You know, they do a 4 o'clock count, and then it's dinner, and they let everybody out. Like there are guys stabbing each other in the yard 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago. They let you right back out, and then that night, it's not open. You go back to, you either go to the yard or back to the units, because it was a controlled movement compound. But then the same thing would happen when I went to the low. You'd be locked up for 4 days, because in the low it was such a big deal. It was like, what's happening? Like, that's it. But at the medium, they were so kind of used to it. It's like, we're not going to be doing bag lunches. We're not going to have these guys locked up for 4 days. Fuck that. Go to go to main line, turn around, come back, go to the unit. Like, so I'm wondering, you're saying they were locked down for 10 hours. Like, they're so used to this happening.
Well, no, I'm saying they locked the family members that were in the visiting room.
She was locked up for 8 hours.
She was locked in the visiting room for 8. We were on the yard for 8 hours.
Okay.
Because
after that, do they lock the whole compound down for weeks or a day?
Yeah, well, you got to understand, in California, so on that one, we were locked down. Okay, so they locked her in there for 8 hours. Boom, she doesn't know what happened. She then finds out that 2 weeks later, we're getting off lockdown. But while we were on lockdown, a white Crip hit the yard. I want to say his name. I should.
What?
From Riverside. I won't even say the neighborhood. It's all good. And
I thought there were white Crips.
No, for sure. No, there's white Crips.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, so what happens, and I can only speak for California prisons, when certain people hit the yard, we got Mexican Crips, we got white Crips, we got all kind of different. And a lot of times it will start a war. And so now we got to figure out who you are. Who's your homies? Are you reputable? Are you worth going to war for? Are you solid?
Right.
And he was very solid. And so everyone knows when we get out, the Aryans, it's against their bylaws, their structure, to allow any white to walk the yard that's not up under their umbrella. And so I'm not knowing that getting off lockdown, my sister's in the visiting room again. And I still don't even know she came the first time. And we got into another riot. Whites against Crips. Really was blacks, but the Crips led it because it was involving us. But a lot of times in California, when there's riots, there's mass riots, they'll flip the yard. And I think that's one of the good things about California, is that because of the way that the gang structures are and the politics, that once shit goes bad, they'll bring in buses and they'll just take everyone out and flip in a whole new,
So they take all those people, they send them to they break up everything. They send them to different prisons, bring other people from.
Yeah, they'll leave like a small core usually. So it all depends, to be honest. The correctional officers in California are the ones who manipulate all of the violence. They get hazard pay anytime an alarm goes off. And so they make sure that the alarms
Or staying
or stay going off, in a controlled way, but I'm very grateful for it. I grew up in prison. I walked in a boy, and, all of my etiquette, all of my respect, all of my everything that I learned how to conduct myself as a man, a lot of that came from prison and people that I met in prison.
Yeah.
It really taught me how to conduct myself and how to have morals and how to lead with my compass, and, my word is everything, and, a solid handshake and all the stuff that I wasn't taught from my father. Right. I learned either from my older homie or in prison, walking the yard with older homies.
So being polite and respectful you realize goes a long way.
Yeah, but that's prison.
Yeah.
It's it's all about respect. You don't respect one person and see what happens.
So when you get out that time, you go right back to the neighborhood?
I was getting out and going right back. You know,
And thinking
I
about,
wasn't even like, I was just all gas, no brake.
right?
You know,
No community college for you.
no,
No, I'm not kidding. No. And they learn a trade. No, not interested.
nope.
You're all in.
Yeah, it hit me. So prisoners run everything when it comes to prison. The only thing that we do not do, which you know this, is turn keys.
Right.
Especially in California, you know, we do paperwork, we do the kitchen, we do the bed moves, we do the transfers, inmates do every single thing except lock doors.
Right.
And work in the towers. And so, you know, there was times where I needed to come back just because I was the only one getting released and they needed to get me to a certain prison, you know, on a certain yard, in a certain building, to a certain cell, to do a certain thing. And so, you know, there was times where I had to go back and my homies would pick me up and we'd go to dinner and, you know, they're like, damn, you're home. And I'm like, yeah, but I got to go back. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I got the kite that I need to go back. And they just didn't understand how.
And you have to go back to prison for what? So.
Yeah, just certain little things, you know.
Okay.
Just, you know, They needed to get me somewhere and they were able to get me to where I needed to be. But it was just all part of that life.
At Coleman, like if you wanted to, you know, move from one cell to another cell or go from one unit to another unit, you didn't really necessarily go to the unit manager or your counselor. You would go to their I want to say assistant, but whatever. It was the inmate, their inmate, you know, it's not a liaison. It's like their secretary.
Well,
and you go to that guy.
So it's so much so the feds is totally different than state prison.
Yeah.
In a sense of the feds are run by their kind of correctional officers. They're only allowed to give up as much power as possible in the feds. Not in California, not in the state prison. In the state prison, every single thing is ran by the inmates.
Like, well, I was gonna say my buddy. Well, that's what I'm saying. My buddy Pete. When I say assistant, that's my buddy Pete.
Yeah.
You would go into the unit and they would get 3 new guys, and his counselor would say, find some places for these guys to go.
Yeah.
And he'd go walk through the unit and he'd come back. He'd say, yeah, you know, 207 there's a bottom bunk. This guy needs a top bunk. We can put him top. And he'd write it all down. And then the guy typing it in the computer, like,
yeah, no,
you wanted to be moved. You went to Pete. You didn't go to the counselor.
Yeah. So I didn't even have to, it was already established on what was what. And so like all I had to do was reviolate.
Right.
And then I kind of already knew what was, you know, and so I was in and out for a while. And a funny story. So I used to tattoo in prison. And for like the last year, I was tattooing all bank robbers. And I would give them free tattoos for them to break down. Bring your paperwork also, but then break down how to rob a bank.
Right.
As I'm tattooing you. And so they're breaking down the registers, they're breaking down cash cows, they're breaking down jumping the counter versus slipping a note versus this versus that. They're bringing out their paperwork. They're showing me all these unrecovered amounts. And
you're
all
working
these
on a federal sentence.
You know, and so, yeah, in my mind,
right.
I have it set that I'm going to rob a bank.
Right.
And so I get out of prison and I hit some different states and I'm running from here to there, and I get extradited from Washington State and the U.S. Marshals come fly me back.
Well, wait a minute, bro.
So I get arrested in Spokane, Washington.
For what?
I don't fucking know. I think it was they thought I was stealing, or for one, when they chased me, I had a gun, a bunch of counterfeit money, and some other things.
Okay.
And so
first, let's go back to the bank robbery. You get out of the bank robbery. Okay.
No. So this is all part of the story.
Okay.
And so either way, I'm in Spokane, Washington. They chase me. I run, the police. I run, I'm throwing a whole bunch of stuff. They catch me. They extradite me. California comes and gets me because I'm on parole. And this is the time I'm gonna rob a bank when I get out.
Okay.
And so
What did you throw? You said you had counterfeit.
yeah, I had a bunch of counterfeit money, some guns.
Where did counterfeit money come from?
I was doing different things.
Okay. I mean, are you counterfeiting the money? There's no statute of limitations. This is
Yes. Yeah, we were. Well, at first I was getting it, and then the guy taught me how to do it with the purple power and scrubbing and taking all the thing. And we were using real money and then printing over it. And
yeah. So you got the good paper. It's the real money.
it was real money, yeah. And so we would just use this stuff called purple power, the degreaser, and it just takes all of the ink off of the actual bill.
Right.
And then we would send like a whole slew of females to all these fast food places and buy bullshit and round up a whole bunch of, it was just whatever. And so I get extradited, and my reception obviously is San Quentin. But now that I'm coming from Washington State, I now have to go to Tracy State Prison, DVI, as a layover. While in,
This is because you're being moved.
yeah,
They're trying to get you there.
yeah, I'm in transit.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm in transit.
It's California.
Yeah, yeah. And so really from Tracy to San Quentin, it's probably an hour and a half drive.
Okay.
And I was only supposed to be there for maybe 3 days. But they kept me there for 2 weeks. And while I was at Tracy, mind you, I knew I wasn't going to have a long sentence.
Okay.
I know I'm getting out in probably 6-7 months. And so I'm like, damn, this is not like I'm hitting a bank. But this is when I met my wife in prison. She was my nurse. She passed out my medication. Well, now ex-wife.
Right.
But yeah, I met my ex-wife in prison. And she saved my life because I now didn't have to rob a bank.
Right.
And so
How does that meeting go? Like you go into are you in pill line and?
No, I saw her in pill line, and funny enough that she is actually how I found out about.
Yeah. About the podcast.
Yes,
That's right. Oh, we've had a few guys that have kind of hooked up, obviously with the female guards, but we had the one guy who kind of like this. He actually was flirting with the female guard, and he was getting out, and she was going to do something completely like, she's like, I can't do this anymore. She had been going to a school to be a dental technician or something, and she was going to go do that because she just had been doing this for a couple of years. She was like, this is not for me. And so they had been semi-flirting, and he says to her, he goes, and I could get fucked up for this. He like first even suggesting this. He said to her, he's like, well, I'll be getting out in like a month. He's like, would you be interested in me contacting you? And right then, that's it. You could get fucked up. She could be like, oh, we're done. Or she could have written you up right then. And she went, She thought about it, and she was like, I'm going to give you my Facebook name. You can look me up. Here's where I live. And told him, her Facebook or whatever it was. And she's like, it's this whatever 63 or something, and he was like, okay. He's like, man, listen, I've said it over my head over and over and over and over again. And then when he got out, he actually hooked her. They got married. They were married for like fucking 7 or 8 years. It's like, they got a couple of kids. They started a business.
But it happens every day. You got to understand, like, these females are regular people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all the drugs that we're like, we were knocking down some of the chicks in medical, some of the free staff, some of the teachers. We were having them, they were bringing us lighters, they're bringing us weed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so.
But a lot of them don't end up, that relationship doesn't I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not typical that it
The longevity of
of course, that it extends outside of the prison, and then it ends up being like, no, it's a real thing. Like these people get married, they have children, they go on, whether or not they get divorced 5 or 10 years later or not, is irrelevant. The fact is like, it wasn't just she's a prison J-Lo.
Yeah.
But on the street,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have touched her.
Yeah.
No, this was a real thing.
Yeah. And that's how it was with my ex-wife. We had communicated, because what I used to do when I got to prison, mind you, I had got shot when I was 16.
Right.
But whenever I went to prison, I went and talked to medical, and I would say, hey, recently I was shot and I need to get a lower bunk, lower tier chrono.
Right.
That way it's already on file that I'm bottom bunk. I'm not getting sent up to the 3rd tier. I'm not getting sent up to the 5th tier. I'm not going up to the nosebleeds because I got a chrono. And so I saw her sitting there.
Are the bullets still in you?
I have one still in me.
Okay, that's plenty. But the holes in one bullet, that covers it.
And so, that was how I used to go in and get my chronos. I used to go in there and say that. And so I went up to her and talked to her and was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I ran my little spiel. She went and checked on it. And then, we saw each other in passing a couple times after that. But they ended up transferring me. They came and transpacked me and had me load up all my stuff because I was chipping out in the morning to go to San Quentin. And so I get to San Quentin, and mind you, all of the mail in San Quentin is 2 months, is 30 days behind. And so it's all a month late. And so maybe 2 months in, I get a letter and it just says Melissa Ford. And so I don't know who it is. And it's like, I read it and it's like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but if you have a girl, then I mean no disrespect. And we just started communicating. I was in San Quentin for probably 3 months and then got shipped to New Folsom State Prison, which was a war zone. It was gladiator. And I'm very grateful that I even made it out of there that time. She came in and picked, well, really, she was like, what are you doing when you get out?
Does she visit you?
No.
I was going to say, because that's
kind
of dangerous for her job.
Yeah, no. She actually resigned from that job before we really even started. I didn't know that she had resigned right after I had left. Yeah, she came and picked me up from New Folsom. And we got a place together because my parole was in Fairfield, California. It was in Solano County. And so we got a place together in Solano, but then probably a month in, I went back to prison for like another 8 months.
Is this a violation?
Yeah, it was a violation.
What's the violation for?
I don't remember.
Fuck. That's not good. You get so many violations you don't remember. That's
no, like I was getting crazy violations. Like one of my violations, I shouldn't bring up all these stories because one of my violations is attempted murder. And it was just a violation. They couldn't get me on the charge, and so they violated me with attempted murder and the stabbing and a whole bunch of shit. Never mind. To be honest, I think that time I got a DUI right before New Year's, and I didn't tell my parole officer because when we got arrested, I was so honest and just respectful that the lady cop, mind you, my ex was very intoxicated. And was like, let my husband go. You can have the car. We had like a car on 26-inch rims. And she's like, take this. She's like, ma'am, you need to back up or you're going to go to jail with him.
Right.
And so, yeah, they took me and she was like, listen, you've been so respectful that I'm going to make sure you get out tonight. And I was like, well, I'm on parole, so I'm going to have a parole hold.
Right.
I was like, but I appreciate you. She's like, no. And so I went to jail, and maybe 4 hours later, I went to Santa Rita in the Bay Area. And it was rough because it was like people in there kicking dog food and like really going through it, like withdrawals. And like I got into a fight with this guy who was beating up another guy that was going through withdrawals. And it's like, dude, he's going through withdrawals. You're over here kicking him. They called me maybe 4 hours later. And when I walked out of that county jail, that police officer was sitting all the way at the end. And she rolled down the window and she's like, I told you I'll get you out. I was like, damn. But I didn't say nothing to my parole officer. You know, you got to report that kind of shit within 24 hours or something like that.
Do you think it wasn't gonna?
I didn't care because at that time, I knew I only had maybe 2 more months left on my parole before I was discharging that number.
Right.
I had maxed out. I had given them almost 5 years on a 3-year parole.
Right.
Because they can extend you.
Well, you keep getting violated.
Well, no, but still, you're still only supposed to max out.
That's the 3 years.
At the 3 years. Right. But in California, they have an option to extend your parole. And so I knew I didn't have that much time. And so I don't say nothing. But then 2 days after New Year's, my parole officer called me and was like, hey, I need you to come in by 12 o'clock. And I already knew what that was.
Right.
And so I go get my balloons and I crush up a whole bunch of weed and I roll up a little mini lighter and a whole bunch of papers. And I probably had 1.5 ounces of weed that I crushed into the size of a lighter. And I hooped it and I hooped the lighter and the papers and all the shit because I already know I'm going down. And so I walked into my parole office just knowing what was going to happen. And as soon as I walk in, like 9 parole officers come out from the back like, let's not make this hard. And I'm like, go ahead, do your thing.
You did do the whole, what's happening?
Yeah, no, because I already know I didn't report.
And I don't play the,
yeah.
What? You still got to act, no?
No, I'm not even going to waste them. It's whatever. It was really a blessing though, because I saw a bunch of people in there that I hadn't seen in years. People that I knew that I might not ever see again.
Right.
People that had fought crazy cases, you know, that were sentenced to 186 years, 4 life sentences, double murders. And I was able to give them free, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they hadn't smoked in years.
So I have a question. Your wife at the time is a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming she resigns and gets another job as a nurse.
Yep.
She's writing a guy that's in prison, that's a gang member, that gets out, moves him in to an apartment and starts having a relationship. And he's still, I'm assuming, an active gang member.
Yeah.
What's she thinking?
So,
I mean, now in your current situation, you have to be able to look back at that and say, so what are you thinking?
So, well, it's just the universe. And yeah, we can say that now, you know, like when she came and picked me up the very first time, I'm so grateful to God that she didn't just write me off, you know, because there was probably 100 different things that she could have been like, nope, I'm cool, you know?
Yeah.
When she picked me up the very first time, maybe a week out, gang task force came and kicked in our spot at like 5 a.m. while we were asleep. Just flashlights and tactical gear and machine guns.
Right. This isn't her house. This is a spot for the gang.
Well, no, so we, fresh out of prison, we got like a month at the extended stay.
Okay.
You know, like you pay for like a hotel or an extended hotel type shit.
Yeah, it's like an apartment.
Yeah. And so while we were looking for an apartment to get, we were there for a month.
And that's where the gang unit kicked in?
Yeah. And so I was at the top of the gang sweep list.
You just got out.
I know. And so like they kicked in our shit, machine guns, searching everything, running, barcodes and making sure nothing was stolen. And
Is she there?
Yeah.
She doesn't have any.
Yep. They search her purse. They find her old ID, thinking that she was still working at the prison. And she's like, I resigned.
Right. And she's still stuck with you. Because a lot of chicks would have been like, yeah, listen, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't be going through this.
Yeah, no, she definitely was heaven sent. Like God is so good because he's placed the most incredible women in my life. We went through a lot of ups and we were married for 9 years, almost 10 years. So I get locked up on that time for the violation for the DUI. And I just spend that time in there just chilling with the homies, just smoking. I'm knowing I'm getting out in like 30 days. And so, yeah, I kick back that number for everyone in California. I had a T88071 number that I gave back. And I stayed out of prison for probably 7 years.
Oh, okay.
We got married.
When you were out during that stretch, was it still gang activity?
Oh, it was horrible.
It was saying, okay.
Yeah, it was horrible, which had me feeling like that was probably, mind you, like my father caught a life sentence for murder when I was 9 months old. And so, like growing up, I never wanted my kids to feel the same things that I felt, And so when I had my son, I was really hard on myself because that's when I was in like the thick of my bullshit, There was a lot of shootouts, a lot of just back and forth. Like I was afraid to have my kids in the car. I couldn't take them, to certain gas stations. I couldn't. It was just really, the city Stockton went bankrupt. The whole city went bankrupt. So there was no police officers. There was no ambulances. The only thing that would slide through every couple hours is a highway patrol, but then they got to get back on the highway and do their job. And so like in the height of my son being born is when Stockton was rocking and rolling, which is always rocking and rolling. It's very active. But yeah, I just felt bad. I'm very grateful. I thank God every day. Just a lot of things. It just horrific acts of violence, and then just like coming home and playing with my son on the ground, like just feeling like my father. Just like, fuck.
Did you ever reach out to your father? Did he ever reach out to you? Have you ever had a conversation with him?
Not until, which this is like, we're jumping and we can jump. It's okay. My brother had been contacting my father in prison. And through my brother, I got a letter from my father. Mind you, I'm 30 years old. This is the first time I've ever been in contact with him my entire life. And so, I fill out a visiting form to go visit him. Mind you, I didn't think I'd get approved, to be honest. At this time, I was running a lot of firepower all over the place. I don't know how else to say it.
Okay.
And in the midst of, I guess you could say, trafficking and stuff all over, was going to pick up a shipment somewhere in Washington. And so now I know I have to go pick something up in Washington. So I buy my ticket to go out there. But then maybe 4 days before I'm going to leave, I get a letter that my I've been approved to visit my father. And so now I'm picking up a shipment and going to visit my father in the same area in Washington. Then like maybe the day before I'm set to leave, I get a phone call that my grandfather was sick. That he had cancer and was in the hospital, and it wasn't looking good, and I should come there. And I felt bad. This is the first time my family's probably hearing this. I had already had tickets to come out there to do a couple different things before my grandfather had gotten sick. And so I get out there, and the first thing I do is I go see my grandfather. And he had like 7 different types of cancer, and it was really messy. Like as soon as I got there, they left me with him, and it was a little traumatizing. But I go pick up all the stuff I need to get, and then I go see my father. I go visit him in prison. And walking into prison,
So there's a car parked in the parking lot with 600 pounds of in the prison parking lot while you're going into. Okay, just trying to paint the scene.
yeah, no, there was no drugs. It was all firepower.
Oh, okay. Either way.
But no, I had a whole bunch of people out there, and so it was nowhere on the vicinity.
It makes me think about Henry Hill and I forget the character name De Niro plays, where they're doing the drug deal in their probation officers are swapping the bags, waiting to be called.
Something like that. Yeah, and so I go to the prison, and me and my brother go. And the very first thing he says to me as he's hugging me is, "Damn, son, I didn't think they would let you in here. Had I known, I would have had you bring me something." And it's like, for one, I had already did all these years in prison. I'm all these years out. This is your first time ever giving me a hug and talking to me, and that's the first thing you say?
Yeah.
And so that just kind of threw the whole visit off in itself. But I went through the formalities, and
Yeah, that would put up a wall.
yeah, you know. But in that moment, I also realized that me growing up my entire life and wanting my father and being in all this pain because everyone else had their dad, and in that moment, I realized that him not being in my life was a massive blessing, because people think I went left when I should have went right. Like, had he been in my life, oh man, who would have known what kind of person I would be right now. And so, yeah, he did 33 years straight.
Yeah, sometimes God removes people
Oh,
for a reason.
Oh, God keeps removing people out of my life and bringing people in, and he's so incredible. But yeah, he got out.
Is he in California? Do you see?
Oh, no. So he had got in trouble for like stabbing up a bunch of Aryans in prison, and they moved him to a couple different prisons. And when they let him out, they didn't really want to let him out in California because of the Aryans. And so I guess they let him out in Texas. But I didn't really fuck with him for numerous reasons. But at the same time, I did understand what it felt like to get out of prison and not have anything. So when he came home, I don't know, I maybe sent like $2,000 here, 500, 800. But then he started asking for money more than I felt like he should. But then he contacts me and was like, the press found me. I'm like, the press found you, and they're trying to pay me $5,000 for an interview. He's like, I don't know what to do because I need the money. And I'm like, well, that kind of sounds like you're blackmailing me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not knowing that this whole time he had already did the interview.
Oh, I'm sure how the interview could hurt you anyway.
And he's trying, well, it could hurt me because I was still on federal parole.
Oh, okay.
and he's on parole, and we're not supposed to have contact. And so he's doing this whole interview talking about how we talk all the time and how he sends me money and how he can't wait to meet my kids and how he can't, like, all this stuff that we never fucking talked about.
Right.
And so I cut him off right there. I was like, dude, you're just so fucking full of shit. I was like, that's wild. I was like, and you try to blackmail me? I was like, all right. And so, yeah, no one, me or my brother, really didn't mess with him.
Let's go back to the 7-year stretch. Why'd you end up going back to jail after the 7 years? You were married, you got a kid, you're deep in criminal activity. What happened that caused you to go back?
So I'm deep in criminal activity, but I'm also very, very present as a father, which sounds crazy. Taking the kids to school every day, just being a father, just being what I never had. So there was a father and son, and there was some shooting, and a couple people got shot, and there was a lot of back and forth. And then when the son would do shootings, he would then leave and call the cops and say someone shot at him. And then the father would slide through and shoot some shit up. And then the dad would call the cops. This was their thing, is that we would go back and forth, but every time they shot at us, they would call the cops and say someone shot at them. And so it's protecting themselves.
Yeah.
And we didn't know they were doing this. And so this huge investigation and this operation, I don't even like talking about it, but Operation Ceasefire, the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, Stockton Gang Task Force, whole bunch of alphabets was investigating me and a bunch of my homies for a variation of things. And when I picked up my little brother up for work, not my real DNA brother, but my lay brother, T-Lope, when I picked my brother up for work at 6 a.m, they pulled us over. And I'm thinking it's just a regular routine, I didn't hit my blinker type shit. And they pull us out and search the car, and I had like an XD45 or something in the trunk. And they were like, whose gun is this? And I'm like, fucking, I don't know. And they're like, well, the car's in your wife's name, so I guess we're gonna go arrest her. And I'm like, well, I guess it's mine then. I was like, it is mine. And so they take us back to my little brother's house, which is right around the corner. And that's when we see the soccer mom vans and the fucking Corvettes and the Camrys and the FBI jackets and the DEA jackets and the ATF jackets. And they're coming out of my little brother's house, and they got sniper rifles and assault rifles and all these evidence bags. And we knew in that moment that this wasn't a routine stop. They take us to the police station, and that's when we pass this room, and there's a bunch of our homies in there, and that's when we find out that the feds kicked in 13 doors at once.
Is this a RICO? Or this is just a conspiracy?
Just a conspiratory investigation where they dubbed me the shot caller and the kingpin, and it's like, how am I a kingpin? I work for $14 an hour. I'm on my way to work. Like, how am I a shot caller? I'm not even from Stockton. You know what I'm saying? Like, so how they dub me the shot caller and the leader of the Northside Gangster Crips, and it's like, that's not true. Like, none of this stuff that the Stockton Police Department is saying is true. And so, yeah, we knew it was serious. And so that night, mind you, I'm now sitting in jail. Like, I know that I'm going to jail. And I know that I'm not going to be able to pick my son up from school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the first time that I'm locked up and I have kids. And so, you know, I just thought about that conversation when he finds out that I'm not going to be coming home. And so I didn't even go to sleep that night. I was in a cell with one of my homies and we stayed up all night just chopping it up about fucking how serious this shit was. I had never messed around and like I had never been involved in anything that the FBI and the DEA and the ATF was all investigating something at the same time. I just remember standing at my door and the door pops and I look out my door and they're like, Meeks, Channel 12 wants to visit you. Like, do you want it? And I'm like, sure. And so I go into the visiting thinking it's Channel 12 and it's one of my folks, Ken. And Ken informs me that my mugshot had gone viral and I never had Facebook or none of that shit. And so I didn't know what it meant. And so he sat for 10 minutes trying to explain what was happening.
So do you still to this day, do you know that like, was it somebody took your mugshot? Oh no, they sent it to somewhere or?
It was Stockton Police Department. So
They sent it to the press
they put it on their Facebook page.
and just some reporter saw it and went,
Yeah,
wow.
so from Stockton Police Department's Facebook page, they put a bunch of our mugshots and some guns and some, you know. And from there, I went viral. So
Some reporter said,
someone, you know, it just,
this guy looks like a fucking supermodel.
Everybody needs a good pair of jeans. What I like about the Perfect Jean is that the moment you put them on, they feel like sweatpants. They don't ever pinch or bind up. As a matter of fact, they're super stretchy. There's never any point where you feel like they're binding up on you or they're tight or they pinch you or anything like that. They're comfortable in pretty much any position that you sit in. They're really great. They're comfortable and they look great. And the best part is our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjeans.nyc or Google The Perfect Jeans and use promo code COX15 for 15% off. Normally, a good pair of jeans costs anywhere between $150 to $200, but The Perfect Jeans are reasonably priced at $79.99. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc and use promo code COX15 for 15% off. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code COX15. Please support our channel and tell them we sent you. F your khakis. Get the Perfect Jean.
yeah.
He shouldn't. He can't go to prison. He's too pretty to go to prison.
So then I get out from the visit.
Do you really understand what's happening? Like, he just can't really explain it to
No, well, it didn't make sense to me because I'm like in the streets. I don't understand fads and social media and Hollywood and I don't know none of that. I'm like immersed in it. I'm full blown. All this shit is not real. So then I walk out of that. I walk out from seeing the homie Ken and I walk into my section, into the pod. And when I walk up the stairs, the Crip TV has my mugshot, the stories, the white TV, the Mexican TV, different language. And so I'm walking up the stairs going, oh shit. So this is what he's talking about. So then I go into the cell for maybe 15 more minutes and they pop my door again. And this time it was Channel 12. And so I go into this interview and they're like, the chief of police said you're a shot caller and you're a kingpin and you're this and that. And it's like, none of it made sense. And so I'm like, dude, I don't want to talk about the guns and the violence and the this and that. Like, if you want to talk about something, like, let's talk about me being a father. Let's talk about me working. Let's talk about me. And so that's all we talked about until the end of the interview when they're fake packing up the cameras. And they're like, so why did you have the gun? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not knowing this whole time it's recording.
Oh yeah, come on,
Well, I didn't know.
I know.
I didn't know.
They wait till the very end to
Yeah.
do the fucking the to catch you.
Yeah. And so boom, within, I would say on the third day, that's when just floods and floods of letters from all over the world. I was probably getting 300 letters a day.
I have a question. Is it women saying like, "Oh my gosh," because we
Everything.
yeah. Is there just because I can only imagine because we have average looking guy coming here talking about the letters he's getting from women.
I'm talking
I can
about,
only
and it was just too much.
yeah.
I'm getting naked pictures. I'm getting money orders. All kind of money's being sent in.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was locked up. Like I specifically remember sitting in the TV room and they show your picture on whatever it was. It's like Entertainment Tonight or something. They're like,
What were some of the names like what was it? The names that they gave you like
Oh, there was many monikers. The hot felon.
hot felon, yeah.
The sexy convict, the blue-eyed bandit. I don't know.
you gotta come on, you gotta
Like, yeah, so I got some
Yeah.
Prison Bay hot
Prison Bay. Yeah. That was probably the main one. The hot felon in Prison Bay.
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you sorry to interrupt, but
No. It was wild though because I was getting too many letters to where I couldn't even read them all. And so I'm passing them down the tier, and now everyone's going, "Hey, this chick just said she sent these pictures. I'm gonna send them down." And like it became this whole thing to where we had, numerous races involved because it was just too many. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so then the hate came from the correctional officers, because it's a state case, and in state, there now can be press in the courtroom. So in the feds,
No.
there's no press allowed.
No.
But in state, every time I went into the courtroom, there was 100 reporters, and everyone was fighting each other for better angles, and the judges screaming, and it was like a zoo in there. And like I had been to court 100 times, and it was never like this.
Right.
I was angry for a very long time. And I had to then come and realize that people are human, and there's a lot of people that carry a lot of trauma and a lot of hate and a lot of, but I was very angry with the correctional officers who, they were beating the shit out of me for a while. Different shift changes, and
This is just jealousy.
yeah,
That's where kind of a lot of it boils down to.
yeah, there's a lot that I could say, but it's not going to shed. They already got the light shed on them, and so people know what the cops do and the correctional officers do.
How did it change how the inmates did it change the way the inmates interacted with you at all?
You don't seem like you've had an easy go of it up until this point. And does this make it worse or better, or is it?
No, so one thing, I've never once been a victim in prison. I've never been bullied. I've always been the aggressor. And so like I never had issues like that in prison. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then even with this, like because of the way that I conduct myself, no, you know what I'm saying? Like people who look for issues are gonna find issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I never got any hate from any inmates because of this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, Colby's heard me say this 1,000 times. I'm like, if you get stabbed in prison, you had it coming.
oh, you
Like,
did
you did
something.
something.
Yeah, you deserved it.
Out of nowhere.
You deserved it.
Yeah, you talked shit about somebody. You ran up a debt.
Yeah.
You
did something.
Yeah, you did something.
You did something.
It doesn't just happen. And they probably even tried to tell you
For sure.
check in.
Yeah, you
You're gonna
probably
get hurt.
you probably got disciplined once or twice before this.
Right.
And so, yeah.
But this is unique. this, because this is kind of a jealousy thing. Like I can see the guards being jealous and inmates being jealous. Like, why is he getting this attention?
Well, see, that's the whole thing. It was the exact opposite. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were like, fuck yeah, someone fucking finally blew up off this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so from being in state court, because then I had all the press, then the feds pick up the case.
So the state one gets dropped. And
so the state, so the state gets dropped, feds pick it up, boom, they take me from San Joaquin County, Stockton County Jail, and ship me to Sacramento County, because that's where they have the federal holding facility. That's where you go to court at, state capital, and stick me on the 8th floor. So first I go to the 7th floor, but then my cellie, on my second day, my cellie comes back in the cell with a fucking toothpaste and a soap, and then goes to sleep. And then next you know, the Southerners come to the door like, hey, did someone steal a toothpaste and a soap from in front of one of my homies' cell? And I'm like, nah. And they like, I wake this dude up, dude, get up. Did you take it? And they're like, no, someone gave it to me. Well, who gave it to you?
Right.
And they were like, hey, check it out. He stole from us. And I'm like, look, I'll take care of it. Because what you're not finna do is put your hands on another black. It's not gonna happen. We clean up our own backyard. And so now I'm in the cell beating the shit out of this guy because I'm trying to stop a fucking race war. Blacks against Southerners, blacks against Mexicans. Because you cross a line and you're a J-cat. In California, a J-cat's like a category J. You're crazy.
Okay.
Like you're on psych meds, you're on hot meds, you're taking Seroquels, you're taking antidepressants. And so he clearly wasn't all there. But that doesn't change the fact that we are in a facility where you have to conduct yourself to a certain manner. And if you cross a line, then I can't just let you get up out of here. It's just, I can't roll you up without me putting hands on you, And so he told the police, and then they shipped me up to the 8th floor, and now I'm in the hole, which was wild because it was a whole bunch of other J-cats up there, and they're like rubbing feces all over people's door because you come out one at a time. You come out for like 15 minutes, 45 minutes sometimes a day by yourself.
No, people don't realize there's a lot of mental illness and well, I mean, all I know everywhere is federal.
Everywhere though.
They have units where it's like in Coleman, they would have a unit where everybody in there was either schizophrenic or extremely bipolar to such a degree that they're almost schizophrenic. I mean, there were major issues, and then they would put an inmate with them to take care of them, and you got paid. You get paid like $25 a month to.
That's crazy.
To be a cellie with this guy, and you made sure that he took a shower and he did his laundry and you got other perks because you were in this special unit.
Yeah.
But like, there's no mental hospitals, like Reagan closed all the mental hospitals. So what they do is they wait for these people to fuck up and they send them to the feds or the state or something. That's the new mental hospital.
Yeah. And I think that is because of, and this is jumping again, just because it's big business, like.
What, you mean prisons?
Prison.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Even the feds, like even not all Fed prisons are owned 100% by the feds.
All right. There's a GEO. There's what is it? CC? Is it CCA? Is that what's it?
Yeah, CCA. And so it's like
Congressional Corporation of America.
Yeah, and so that's another reason why a lot of that mental health, like they shouldn't be in prison. A lot of them don't even know where they are. I've seen a lot of people that don't know where they are, and it's like the fact that you have him locked up in a prison.
Yeah. Oh, and they'll give him real sentences too.
Yeah, and it's like
they don't even take it into consideration.
It's like, how is that not a check? How are you not have him in there because you're getting $110 a day and you're getting?
All right, Liz, who?
I know. But it's just the saying is,
we had guys that were just as wildly. We had guys that were, and I've told tons of stories of guys that went from the state to the Fed. The guys in the state are tired of this fucking nut job roommate they've got, and he's complaining because this is a guy I've said this, what his name was. They called him Mr. Freeze. He had narcolepsy, and he would fall asleep. And I mean, sitting down, he'd watch TV and fall asleep and hit the ground and lay there for a minute and get up and sit back down and start watching. I mean, he would stop. He'd walk across the compound and just stop. And so he's like asleep for like standing up for like a minute, and then he started walking in. But he was off his rocker, and he was in the state, and his roommates are sick of him, and he's complaining about how there's no air conditioning, how hot it is. And they go, "Oh, you want to do time in the Fed?" And they got AC. And he's like, "Yeah, I do. Well, how do I do that?" And they go, "You just got to commit a federal crime, and you'll be able to serve your time in the state in the Fed." And they're like, "Really? Well, what do you do?" He said, "You know what you could do? You could write a letter to the president." Bush was president. So he wrote a letter threatening that when he got out of prison, he was gonna kill the president, and he was gonna kill his wife and daughter, and he was gonna rape the dog, which I always thought was nice, a nice little touch. It was a little creativity. Sent it in, and a few weeks later, 2 Secret Service agents show up and they question him, and he says he was serious, and so they indicted him and brought him to federal court. And of course, now he's got a federal defender, and the federal defender explains to the judge, "Your Honor, he's an idiot. This is what happened. This is what he thought." And the judge says, "I get it, and I'm going to grant your request. And as soon as you do your state time, you'll be moved to the Fed." And he got 7 years. You get 7 years for writing a letter. Think about this. He couldn't get himself to D.C. He couldn't get in a position to harm the president. That dog's safe. And, but they had no problem. Yeah, but I'm going to, and he's got a documented history of being a psych patient. Yeah. You just give him 7 years? Come on, man. Like, that's not.
Yeah, that's sad.
That's not right. And then, of course, I know, he sits in this one unit. He's got a special caretaker that takes care of him, but that's what they do.
Yeah.
So,
at least they do that, though, because they don't do nothing like
they don't have to do that even, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
No, because they don't do nothing like that in California.
Yeah. These guys are just smearing.
Yeah.
They're just insane.
Yep. No, they just got him in a special unit. And so in California, a lot of people, I'm trying to think of what the acronym or what the name is for the mental health section of the prison, but the people will get on that, normal people, so that they can stab up some shit and not get in no trouble because you're considered crazy.
Yeah.
And so those people in those units, there's stabbings every day, and they come to yard and they don't get in no trouble, and they're just like nutcases that they don't do shoe terms, they don't do none of it. But yeah, and so
You're in the shoe with a bunch of crazies.
yeah, and then mind you, I'm still a month into my mugshot going viral. This is so fresh that I'm still getting letters. I got random fucking people coming up to visit me. And Sacramento is very strict. Like, their correctional officers are being investigated because they've killed so many inmates. But they're very strict and just assholes when it comes to visiting, because I'm getting random people visiting me and I'm denying them before I even walk up the stairs into the section. And I'm like, I don't know who that person is. I could see him through the glass. I'm like, I don't know who that person is. And they're like, well, I'm still taking your visit. You can deny it, but I'm still going to take your visit for the week. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
so now my family can't come,
Right.
because I got fucking random people coming to see me. And it's just, it was so frustrating. I was grateful.
They don't know that they don't know that you only get 3 visits a week or 2
Yeah,
visits
they
a
just
week.
didn't
They don't realize
understand.
fucking you.
Yeah.
Visit.
And so the first couple times, and what frustrated me is that I had like 2 people who came back like 3 or 4 different times after I had already went up there and told them, hey, please don't come back.
Right.
I need to see my kids.
Right. What are they saying? Like,
Yeah.
why are they even coming?
They're like, well, we drove all the way from Tennessee. And it's like,
Yeah. I didn't ask you to come
I'm like,
from
I understand that, and thank you. I was like,
Are
but
you at least getting a hamburger?
yeah, but my son's 5 years old, and
Right.
he doesn't understand why I'm not home, and he needs to see me. And so I'm just going to ask that you please don't come back.
Is this
write me.
Is this through the glass?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't even get a hamburger. They can't even get you.
So it's county. Yeah, it's county jail. And so, yeah, it was. It was rough, but again, and the only thing that made it rough is because my kids.
Right.
Have you been sentenced at this point?
No.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so that part, my sentencing. So because of my juvenile, because of my prison priors, my gang affiliation, all of this shit, my PSI, my probation report, my PSI came up to like, I don't know, 67 months, between 67 and 70 something. I don't know. It was a high number. My judge, I had the only black judge in the Eastern District, Judge Nunley. If you see this, I'm so grateful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And the DA, she was aggressive. She was really aggressive. And I think there was so much hype around my name and my case.
You in AUSA, the U.S. attorney. Yeah.
That, I don't know. I think she was just like, she was even shooting for more, They were asking a whole bunch. And I just remember my judge saying, no, Jeremy has an opportunity that no one's ever had before. I want him to get out as soon as possible and take full advantage of this. I'm only going to sentence him to 27 months, which was massive because I could have did like 6 years. I could have did like something crazy.
Right.
And he gave me barely 2, and so, yeah, I felt bad because I ended up catching more time and I got caught with some knives and got in trouble for a disciplinary. We punched on one of the homies for a gambling debt. And I got in some trouble, even though I had this crazy career that I was getting out to. I still had to conduct myself in a certain manner while still in prison.
What were you charged with?
I was charged. Oh man, it was amazing. I was charged with felon in possession of a firearm. And so all 21 charges of these crazy. So from my case, a lot of people donated a shit ton of money. And if any of you guys watch this, thank you. Which helped with my lawyer. And
So you were able to get a private lawyer.
Yeah, so I was able to get a private lawyer who was incredible. And you know how the feds are, or just how the court systems are in general. They tack on a bunch of charges, usually state. Let me not say the feds. Usually the feds have a 98% conviction rate, so they don't do no playing. But the state will put a bunch of charges on you, and then only maybe 2 will stick. Right. So yeah, it ended up getting all dropped down to felon in possession of a firearm. They gave me 27 months. They sent me to Mendota. I'm so grateful to go there because.
Was that a medium?
Yeah, it was a medium.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was a medium.
I don't.
Yeah. Which, like a lot of the homies there, most of them had life. So we were probably like 50 Crips deep. And probably 35 of them were in there for bank robbery. There was maybe 7 of them that had life with no date. And to be honest, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I was going through county jail just with young homies and still on that bull, not even thinking. And I'm like, still in that mind frame of I'm finna get out and now I'm gonna be famous and I'm gonna have all these money and I'm gonna buy all these, I'm gonna just get all this stuff and put all my homies on and because my mind is still young. I'm still, and then even in county, I'm like still active and I'm still punching on shit and I'm still disciplined and I'm still popping people's doors and I'm still rolling people up and getting them up out of there. And, you know, and so it's like, then I get to the feds and I get around homies who have been down 26 years, who ain't never coming home.
You start getting those talks.
Yes, yeah, they're walking me around the track every day.
Straighten your fucking life up.
Yeah.
You got an opportunity. Don't
Yeah.
be stupid.
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna do the same shit?
Yeah.
Do you want to be in here with me?
Yeah.
You want to walk this? You want to walk this track? Because I would love. You know what I would do if I had your opportunity? These are like, and they're like subconsciously passing me off to the next OG. And like, we're 50 Crips in there working out, machine in motion, hitting 1,000 burpees a day. Like, real machine. And I could have, they kept me out of a lot of shit. Because, again, I'm not going to say I didn't care about the career and the blessing, and I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know. Fucking.
Are you still getting letters?
Still getting letters. I'm still getting movie opportunities. While I was in the feds, I signed a deal with a management agency. And then they had modeling, they had all kind of shit. And so I'm having a phone call with them once a week. You know what I'm saying? They're sending me books, The Artist's Way, the Yvonne Chubbett acting book. Like, they're sending me all kind of shit, you know what I'm saying? But
They're trying to create.
yeah, but I'm in prison.
Yeah.
And I'm in this world and I'm not there yet. And so while I'm here, I have to conduct myself as I'm here.
You're in
And
California medium. You should have gone to a Florida medium. You'd have been much better place. It wouldn't have been nearly as serious.
yeah, well, the thing is too, it's like,
Anything California is, it becomes, it's much more the fucking lows are dangerous. The camps are they're politicking like the camps. It's like, it's a camp.
yeah.
What do you do? What are you talking about?
But then again, when I tell you that I thank God all the time that my case went federal and not state, for one, I have 2 strikes. And so this case, my main thing is that I wouldn't have made it out of state prison in the same time frame. It just wouldn't have happened. It's just California state prison is too violent. There's too much politics. Like, I could have only made it out like that if I got picked up by the feds. Because everything in the feds was me and my shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't everything around me. Like, police run up in our building on a fake fire alarm. I know that the crib table I'm sitting at the crib table and there's a newspaper folded in the middle of it. But if you flip over that newspaper, there's an envelope with 3 knives in there, just ready to rock and roll. And so it's like, if I just get up and walk out of the building like they're telling me to, then that knife is just sitting on the crib table. So now they're going to come snatch up every crib in the building. And so I grab the newspaper, I throw it away. They search all the trash cans. It was crazy how it happened. So they search the trash cans, find the knives. They rip up the whole building, search every cell. When we come back in the building, I go to the trash can and it's just empty. There's no bag or nothing. So I'm like, nah, it's gone. So then 3 days later, maybe 4 days, I don't know, we're having an issue with one of our homies who had ran up gambling debts before I even got there. He had already been disciplined. So then he had ran up another gambling debt or something. And my cellie was walking around, finding out, asking who's going to discipline him. And wasn't no one really standing up for it. And so I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it. You know, like, it's just a DP, you know? And so me and a couple other homies run up in the bathroom and we DP him and he's screaming and everyone in the building's looking. And I punch because he's like hiding in between the pisser stalls, screaming, and I like punch over the stall, and my knuckle catches the wood, and so when I'm on him, I don't realize that my whole hand's ripped open. And so as soon as I walk out of the bathroom, everybody's staring at us because they can hear this guy in there screaming. And so I come out and I wrap my hand up and I'm talking to my older homie, Fat Dog, rest in peace. He's just passed away a couple months ago. And they fucking call my name on the PA system. Meeks. Maybe 5 minutes after I've DP dude and I'm bleeding, they're like, Meeks, report to the lieutenant's office.
Is this just
I'm like,
cop-outs?
I'm like, fuck. I'm like thinking people told on me that quick. So I walk in there. I'm like, oh shit. I put the workout gloves on with like a little rag to stop the bleeding. Got my hands behind my back. I walk into the lieutenant's office. And they're like, yeah, so we got you on camera throwing 3 knives in the garbage. I'm like, damn, I thought we were talking about something else.
Right.
I'm not knowing I'm dropping blood all over the floor.
Right.
And so, yeah, they take me to the hole. I end up doing like 7 months in the hole or some shit. I don't know.
Would you lose 54 days gain time? What do you lose on? I mean, that's just, they're not going to give you a charge. They're going to.
No, they didn't charge me. They
took away good time, right?
Yeah, they took away some good time. They just added some, couple months. I probably got like 6 months added on to my time, something like that. I don't know how it worked out. I got into some more trouble though. It wasn't just the knives. But
Funny, I had a guy, a buddy of mine who, walked away from a camp, got arrested, was there for like a year, walked away from a camp.
Why would you do that?
Was gone for like 2 or 3 years, I think. Gets caught. I want to say he got caught like in Spain. Brought back. No charge because there's no offense. So they gave him, so he ended up getting 30. I would love to get him on the podcast. He lost like 35 days or 45 days, good time. That's it. And they moved him to a medium because you don't get to go back to a camp. And I met him in the low. But when he was in the medium, he then stole like 4 pieces of bread from the chow hall and they took away 54 days, good time. He's like, I lost 54 days for the bread, but the escape, like it doesn't add up. None of them, it's, you'll hear like one guy, whatever, tattooing, they'll take away, 25 days or something, but then something else, it'll be 50. And you're like, that makes no sense at all. But one's theft and one is absconding, I guess they called it.
Boom. You want to hear something crazier? So when I get out, and we'll jump all the way back, but like 6 of my homies that had life in the feds, no date at all. One by one, they started coming to the door saying, come on, let's go. And they go, where am I going? Medical or what? They're like, no, you're going home. You want to go or not? Let's go. So they're walking all the way to R&R thinking, oh shit, this is for the wrong person. Like he's going to turn around and say, oh, I made a mistake. Right. No, laws started changing.
It was like the crack law, or was this
just different laws? The crack law, Obama's law, like different laws started changing, and they started like 6 of my homies that didn't have no date that I was in the feds with. They all got out.
Yeah, I knew a couple of guys that had nothing in, by the way. It's just that, and so the crack law had changed, and Obama, and they automatically gave them public defenders who filed motions. These guys have no idea any of this is going on. They're kicked back thinking nothing. And then one day they get a letter saying, I'm your lawyer, I'm coming to see you. Or they get a phone call
saying you're being released.
And the guy's like, hey, I'm your public defender. Like, no, you're not. My public defender is so-and-so. Like, I haven't heard from that guy in 20 years. You're like, no, I was appointed. We filed this, we filed that. It's been granted. They should be releasing you in the next few days.
Dude, one of them got out after 26 years. The homie Whack. Whack got out, and his probation stipulations was that he wasn't allowed a phone. He wasn't allowed a bank account. He wasn't allowed to get a license. It's like, I've been gone for 26 years.
Yes.
And I don't even go to court. I don't nothing. You just come snatch me out of my cell. And then within 24 hours, I got to report to my parole officer or probation because it's feds. Report to my probation officer. And then now you tell me that you're tying my hands behind my back and kicking me in the water and telling me to swim.
Back. He's coming back.
Yeah, no. And so they kept him like that for like a year and a half with all these stipulations, but then they allowed him to get a phone and get a bank account. But it was just like, dude, how you want to release me? And
after the first couple of years when this was happening, they were releasing guys just like that. And their recidivism rate for these guys was so high. What they realized was, and this was all during the Obama administration, they realized, wait a minute, we can't take a guy in the pen who's been living there for 15 or 20 years and release him back into society. He's a monster. You know what I'm saying? He can't do it. So what they did was they started saying, okay, you're going to go to the medium for a year, then you're going to go to a low, and then you have to go through like RDAP.
Or the halfway house.
Yeah, well, no, of course you got to go to the and then that had a much better result because you're acclimating them back into society as opposed to like that guy who gets it. What's he going to go back to? What he knows.
Yeah,
I'm going to go rob a bank or I'm going to go sell
But
drugs.
then again, in California, like these halfway houses are getting everyone killed because now everyone knows where you're at. You can only go to a certain amount of halfway houses in California, especially Northern California. You're only going to go to 4, and it's like
The feds have tons of them. Like they're pretty good. The feds.
No, not in California.
No. Okay. Well,
The Fed halfway houses in California. In Northern California, you're only going to like Lake Merritt, or you're going to Vallejo, or you're going to like these certain halfway house, and everyone knows there's so many people dying every week because you get released and people know exactly where you are. Yeah, when I got released, I had signed with a management agency, and they came in. Jim Jordan, he came and picked me up. Well, he was there when my wife and kids picked me up from the feds.
Did you go to the halfway house?
Yeah. Yep. And so they wouldn't allow, like, he filled out all the paperwork and requested to have a camera crew come on and they were like, negative. Like, you have to stay off of federal grounds. You can meet him on the road. And so, yeah, my wife and kids came and picked me up. Drove me out to the road where Jim and the whole camera crew was at. You know, I put on all my street clothes and put in my gold teeth and put on my shit, and we drove to the halfway house in Fresno, which was actually called Hotel California. It was like an old hotel off the side of the highway that was like run down. It was like the projects. You like fenced in, it was weight piles, it was like a prison yard. And everyone selling drugs. It was wild. But yeah, it happened really fast. One thing I'll say that I didn't speak about too is like my Judge Nunley, we didn't even have to put in a request. So he figured from my media and from my exposure that I would be traveling the world. And you know, with the feds, if you go anywhere in the United States, your probation officer can grant you that. But if you want to leave the country, you now have to set a court date and go in front of the judge and do all of that. And so as soon as I got out, my very first probation officer was like, I just got some papers from the judge, and he's granted me power to let you travel the world at my call.
Nice.
And I'm like,
nice.
He's like, usually we have to fill out for that kind of paperwork. And I'm like, just another blessing, you know, because it happened fast and I hit the ground running. And so it was like the thought of having an opportunity.
I had to go to Amsterdam, and when I went to, I'd already been traveling all over when I got out, went to my probation officer, and she's like, I can't approve this. She's like, you can't leave the country. And I was like, well, can I ask the judge? And she's like, well, yeah, you would have to.
Yeah.
So we put in a motion, and the judge came back and said, Okay.
Yep.
But I remember she said there's no way he's going to let you get a passport because I know you don't know my case, but like 2 of my charges are false application for a passport and use of a false use of a false passport because I had like 20 something passports.
Yeah.
And so she's like, he's not going to let you get a passport. And I was like, no, but it's in my name. But we had to put it in. He said, absolutely, I have no problem with that.
Yeah. Yep. And so that was massive because it's like,
nobody gets it. Like that doesn't have, even typically, you have to have a good reason.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they just say, no, like what, you're on supervised release. You can't leave the country.
yeah, no, I had,
This work for you.
yeah, I had blessing after blessing. It was like none of it we had to fight for. We didn't have to fight for anything. It was like God just lined up all the right people, the right judges, the right probation, the right. And so,
Yeah, but you're also making good decisions now, and you're right. I'm assuming.
no, for sure. No, for sure. You know,
There's violations.
No.
Okay.
I didn't violate once. I never gave no dirties. I never,
By the time you get out, have you come over the course of those few years? Have you come to the realization at this point, like, hey, I have to, my life has to change?
yes and no. I come from a long line of addicts, and so streets, juvenile hall, county, state prison, I never not smoked. Like I smoked throughout everything.
Right.
And in the feds, in the feds, every package that hit the yard, I bought everything. People were mad because as soon as a bundle would land, I would buy the whole thing. And so, but I also knew that once I got out, I couldn't smoke, because the feds doesn't recognize cannabis. State does, state parole, I could smoke, but feds, no. And so from the Brown Street Northerners beating in my back with the baseball bats, I have a bulging disc in my L5, which they used to give me epidurals and want to give me surgery. And so through that, when I got out on parole, they would issue me a whole bunch of Norcos.
Right.
And so I can't smoke, I can pop Norcos,
Right.
and then I just started abusing them.
Yeah,
and
that can be a major problem.
yeah. And so now I have, crazy unlimited resources and a very addictive personality. I had never been addicted to anything because I did a whole bunch of stuff at different points in my life. It wasn't ever just one thing over and over and over and over. And so, yeah, the opiate situation hit me really hard. And no one knew anything,
How long did that go on?
for years.
Did you break that yourself, or did you go to a rehab? Or
No, I didn't go to a rehab per se, but it went from just getting normal scripts to buying hundreds, to then switching to Oxys and Roxys. And then it was like $1,000 a day of Oxycontins I was buying for, I don't know, almost a year. But we're talking 30 grand a month on Oxys. And also,
what a waste of money. Like,
yeah. Addiction is such a horrible disease that, when I had never in my life felt more powerless. I've always been very headstrong, very just strong-willed, and in control as much as I've ever felt, But through opiates, I never felt more weaker and more powerless. And traveling the world. I mean, I'm in Moscow, I'm in Israel, I'm in Austria, I'm in Germany and Switzerland and everywhere.
you're getting contracts through your
Dude,
agency.
Yeah, I'm just shooting fucking campaigns and walking in fashion shows and doing the dopest shit ever. And people think I'm doing my best work. And it's like, they didn't know that I was heavily addicted,
Right.
and it never came out, you know. And so, you know, it got to the point where I was about to have my second child, and the mother of my second child,
By this point, you're divorced.
yes, I'm divorced, and in another relationship. And the mother of my second child, like, was struggling with me struggling, you know. And when we were together, it progressed when we were together. And so she had took a video of me like sleeping.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. When you're not resting well, everything else feels harder. Your focus, your mood, even your recovery. GhostBed is here to help you fix that. They've spent decades perfecting how to build a bed that's comfortable, durable, and designed to actually help you rest. Every GhostBed mattress features premier materials, proven cooling technology, and their exclusive ProCore layer, a targeted support system that reinforces the center of the mattress where the body is heaviest. It helps keep your spine aligned and your back supported, so you can wake up ready for anything 2026 throws at you. Each mattress comes with a 101 night sleep trial and a 20 to 25 year warranty, so you can try it risk-free, knowing it's built to last. Shipping is fast and free. Most orders arrive in 2 to 5 days. GhostBed has great prices to begin with, up to 50% off comparable brands. And Inside True Crime listeners can get an extra 10% off site-wide for a limited time. Just go to ghostbed.com/Cox and use promo code Cox at checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox, promo code Cox. Upgrade your sleep with GhostBed, the makers of the coolest bed in the world. Some exclusions apply. See site for details.
My breathing was very delayed and my lips were turning blue, and I was pretty much overdosing in my sleep. And she was 4 months pregnant. So she's like, dude, if something happens, like, there's nothing I can do. And so luckily she made a phone call and got some help and got a doctor in there. And it was very expensive, but they got me the treatment that I needed. And I think that in itself gave me a lot of survivor's guilt, because a lot of my homies and people that I knew, you know, some of their addiction grew just because of the resources that I had to then buy. And it's just like, if I'm doing it, you're doing it. And now everyone's getting higher and everyone's getting higher and more drugs are being done. And then next, you know, I'm clean. 30 grand was dropped on my sobriety. Do you guys have 30 grand for your sobriety? Do you have an angel to pull you out of the, and say, you know? And so it's like, I was then pulled out of that, and then immediately we moved to Monte Carlo, France. And it's like, now I'm in France, just like sober and clean. And I just felt bad because a lot of the people that I knew were still struggling and still, you know, in the thick of it, and shootouts and this and that. And they're just like,
Yeah, but you can't take care of everybody.
you can't,
You know?
but that doesn't change how you feel, you know? And I just felt like, you know, I went through a lot of why me, you know, after everything, after I have a lot of homies doing multiple life sentences, you know, after I have a lot of people that overdose, and after I have a lot of people, like, I then had to realize that God's plan is God's plan. And as many plans as I try to make for myself, it doesn't matter what I try to plan for myself, because I just feel like God's up there laughing like,
Yeah, I got something else for you. There's that saying, God is laughing while you're making plans.
yeah.
You know?
And it's real. And that's how I've always felt. And so it's like now, you know, we had a conversation earlier about, you know, why I don't trip on, you know, some missed opportunities is because I know what God has for me, no one can take away, you know, and I know that God's going to have me exactly where I need to be, in front of exactly who I need to talk to. He's going to have me hear what I need to or say what I need to. And it's like I just jump in a river now and I flow with it instead of trying to swim upstream, which that's what I tried to do for so many years.
Well, on another topic, like I saw on your Instagram, like you've been in a bunch of movies. Is it a bunch or is it a few?
Yeah, no, I've done probably 17 movies, maybe 17 movies, a couple TV shows, a bunch of theater. I fell in love with theater now.
Are the movies with the same, is it like the same producer?
No,
or these are just different ones.
These are all different. I probably did.
But some look like they were multiple movies. They were the same character.
Yeah. So I've done. Okay. Crazy story. Full circle moment. I go to prison, and at 18, I probably I had a learning disability. And so I probably read at like a 6th grade level going to prison. And through all of my going to the whole situations, I would be forced to then try to pick up a book and read because there's nothing else to do. But when you read very slow, it's hard to comprehend. People always talk about reading is like a movie in your mind. Well, it's not if you don't know how to read. And so through me consuming books because there's nothing else to do, I finally started to paint a picture in my mind about the characters of what I'm reading. And the very first book that ever did that was a book called True to the Game, written by Terry Woods.
Yeah, everybody's read that book.
Of course. And so I tracked down the other 2. I read all 3 of them, which then led me to the Duchess. And I read all 3 Duchess, which led me to the Angel series, which led me to and now these books are now taking me out of my prison cell. And I'm thinking about these characters and I'm like, it's turning into a movie in my mind. And it's just so crazy that full circle, the very first movies that I do is True to the Games. Like I had multiple meetings with producers. Mind you, I was signed to CAA at first. I was signed to different agencies. A lot of producers and directors want to see what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have nothing to show them, well, then they kind of want to wait and see what you could do. But it's like,
how do I do something?
Yeah, if no one gives me a first time, then I'm saying, I'm just stuck. And so my manager, Kara, at the Saks agency, she had me meet with Manny Haley. Originally, he was a massive music producer, manager, but then he started producing movies. And I met with Manny Haley and Jamal Hill, who's a director, an incredible director. And I probably had only 20 minutes in the movie. I had a hard out. In the meeting, I had a hard out. I had to leave. I'm like, dude, I only have 20 minutes. I'm sorry. And in that 20 minutes, he was like, have you ever heard of the trilogies, True to the Game and Dutch? And I'm like, have I? And so I broke it all down for him. And like from that 20-minute meeting, I signed a 5-picture movie deal. And even with that one producer, Manny, thank you, brother. You changed my life when it came to this acting. It just snowballed. I've probably done 7 projects with him, but yeah, it just snowballed and through relationships, through work ethic, through, word of mouth, I've just had all of these projects come in, which has been, it's been crazy, because I've always felt like I could do all these things, You grow up and you see people on TV and you hear music and you're like, oh, I could rap or I could do that or I could do that. But I never thought possible,
Yeah. You need to have the opportunity.
Yeah. But also growing up, I've never been in a creative space. I've never really been around creatives.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I get out and I'm around all these creatives and I'm like, damn, this is the first time I've ever really been in a creative space to where I can be vulnerable and go to acting class and learn vulnerability and learn triggers and learn subtle nuances of acting. I realized that through all my trials and tribulations of life, I have a million things that I can pull from when it comes to acting. Emotions and anger and pain. And I've been through so much in my life that there's almost no situation on a set or in a movie that I damn near haven't been in real life.
Right.
And so I kind of know what that feels like and how to respond and what. And so, yeah, through my life of crime, it kind of geared me up for what God had in store for me.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, if you want to get in touch with Jeremy, we are going to leave all of his links in the description box. Probably mostly it will just be Instagram, and he's got a great Instagram page. You should go there, follow. Once again, thank you very much. I really do appreciate you guys watching. See ya.